Hey, all you Arizona lovers. This is the Fighting Arizona podcast, episode number 405. We're sitting down with Ken of Leaders Cut. It's very exciting to share this story and also to share that he brought a guest with him who is from out of the country. I love sharing traveling stories, so this was a fun one for me, and I hope that Ken enjoyed himself as well. As always, we love to share those kind of in-person conversations, so this one is actually in our studio. I hope that you guys had a lot of fun showing up and being here with us at our studio here at our home, but also we want to share more stories with you, all of the guests who've wanted to share where they come from and what their space is. So I always like going out into the world and checking out new locations. It's always fun for me and my team. It's just a lot of cool things that just stand out, because we don't get a lot of that opportunity as a customer or as a client or as someone who's interested in these stories. It's a lot of the time it's just us trying to figure out what they're about, but at the same time, I think some of these stories, the location, the spaces are as important as the stories themselves. So this in particular is about leadership. It's about business. I hope you guys enjoy this episode. We'll transfer into what we're going to encourage you guys to go check out, which is the bios and the links below to stay connected with Leaders Cut. But as always, you can also check out all of our episodes at our website, fightingarizonapodcast.com. I encourage you to go check out the actual video production side over at youtube.com/fightingarizonapodcast. And it is something that you can catch up with all the episodes that we've done in the video format, and they're more recent episodes. I'm trying to really push the envelope on getting these remastered episodes, which will connect everything, because we don't have 100% of our old episodes up, but I'm moving along. We're chugging along. As you can hear, I'm recovering over an illness, but that doesn't stop us from putting out episodes, putting out content for you, the listeners. We are really chugging along. We love what we do here. And that being said, if you want to work with us, you can go do so by checking out our new tab in our website, The Found House. The Found House is our service arm of this podcast. It is something that we love doing, is sharing your stories. We want to help you produce some of the best content available for yourself, for your business, for your brand. Help us connect with you, share your story, and that's what it's all about, us being a cheerleader for you. Also, trying to teach you how to do it on your own. So hopefully you'll be able to learn something from us, and we can share with you a lot of tidbits along the way while working together, and that will encourage you guys to go check it out, The Found House. Come be a part of our little family over here, and we hope that we'll be able to work with you in the future. Just a little bit behind the scenes. I really have been working hard on making sure this community corkboard is filled up. I want to say that in the mix of everything, we are looking forward to, there's going to be a future day called 602 Day. That's something that's still in the process of working. We're going to be one of the big pushers for that. 602 is a city day that represents, the culture that is Phoenix. 602, the area code, and we hope that you guys will look forward to that. That's in collaboration with our friend Tony, who you remember from episode 400 Extravaganza. He's working his butt off to make sure that this community stays connected, this whole city stays connected, and that's something that really encourages me as someone who has found him and his friendship. So kudos to him. Stay tuned for 602 Day. Also, on top of that, there's a lot of things going on before it gets hot, so stay connected with us so that we can share with you those community events. Our dear friend Chef Joey has just put out a book, so if you've pre-ordered that, kudos to you. You'll be getting it soon. But also, if you want to go check out Chef Joey, go check out his cookbook. Is available now. I hope that you guys will stay connected to that episode, because he's got a lot of things in the works. He's a very busy man, a very busy Italian, and I find him very funny and very cool. So that'll end our little community corkboard. I will encourage you guys to always check out the links below and stay connected with everyone who comes in through our doors. This is episode 405 with Leaders Cut and Ken. I just want to be friends with him. Ken, thank you again for coming in, and I'll see you on the next one. Kisses, hugs, and belly rubs. Catch you later.
Score big with SeatGeek. Whether it's concerts, sports, or live events, SeatGeek has you covered. Use code FIGHTINGArizona to get a fantastic $20 discount on your SeatGeek tickets. Catch your favorite live events hassle-free with extra savings. Visit SeatGeek.com and make every experience unforgettable.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Finding Arizona podcast. I'm your host, Jose, and as always, we bring in fantastic guests every week, and today's no different. I'm going to introduce you to Ken right here, but actually, Ken's going to introduce his business as per usual for our podcast. But I want to say thank you again for joining us, because our talk today is going to be a lot to do with, one, I'm going to associate myself into a lot of the conversation, because what you specialize in is a lot to do with where we're at today and what I want to achieve for our own business here at the Finding Arizona podcast. So
sounds good.
Introduce yourself, introduce the business, and we'll get into it.
Absolutely. So Ken Kilday, my business is an executive strategy consulting firm called Leaders Cut. I call it Leaders Cut because I'm giving a nod to the director's cut of the movie is always the more authentic, deeper, more meaningful, intentioned version.
Yeah.
And so I work with leaders in kind of two realms. So what I find is executive leaders in big companies are often looking to keep what's authentic about themselves while thriving in a corporate environment, while entrepreneurs, they get that part, but what they're trying to do is get all that native genius out of their brain and a system for growth.
Yes.
For getting other people into the fold where they don't become the choke point for all decisions, because their values are in their mind, their mission, vision, purpose is all in their mind. Getting all of that out into a system that they can execute on.
Yeah. So the latter half of it has to deal with the entrepreneurial side, and that's something that I've been really pushing for this last couple of years, with my wife included, involved in that kind of scenario where we're really wanting to push the envelope on helping others out and wanting to allow ourselves and our skill set to be a framework of what we're trying to help with others who, we get the questions all the time. How do you start a podcast? How do you grow it? How do you, make it come to fruition? And so for us, it was really about wanting to educate others and really wanting to be a helping hand, a steward of, looking at ourselves of, we are podcasters, but how do we continue that message the right way? And so that was something, that's something that we've internally discussed, and we've started to slowly build our 101 class and other elements of our service arm and things like that to help streamline and help proficiently make new clients and things like that come to full circle for us.
So it sounds like you're moving through that space of people looking for what you do, of they want to do it themselves, and then there's the done with you, and then there's the done for you.
Yes.
Sort of that
three arms.
The three arms. And I know in my own practice and with a lot of clients, where we start is, I produce content and blogs and frameworks and outlines so that people can really access what it is we would do if we worked together. But it's here it all is, right? Here's an ebook to help you. Here's a lesson to help you. Here's materials. And then when they're ready and in their own time, they choose their own adventure, and then they get to access, me and you, it sounds like, directly where it's done in partnership.
Yeah. I love this kind of question because, one, I'm a very big historical kind of guy and learning the history of a lot of things. So I ask this question of everyone who comes in through our doors is, give us a little bit of your background and your origin story, because when I talked to you about our business, your brain just kind of clicked. And was that always something that you've had a part of you?
So the reason I started a business coaching firm is because I worked in financial services for about 18 years.
Okay.
And I was at a point where, I had been an individual contributor. I had run branches, I'd run regions, and then I was an executive leader where we're launching new products. And I wouldn't say I was burned out. I would say I probably had one of the most tense relationships with a leader above me that I'd ever had.
Wow.
And it made me rethink, what do I want to do? And it was literally over a dinner conversation. And I'm going to give you the short version, not the months long version, but the short version was, my husband said, well, what aspect of leadership of all the roles you've ever had did you love most? Like, what's the commonality?
Yeah.
And the answer became, I love people development.
Mm-hmm.
Like that version of helping somebody discover for themselves the thing that they're best at,
mm-hmm.
and then amplifying that.
Okay.
Uncovering that, developing that skill. And that is, and he said, well, that is a business in and of itself. That's what coaches do.
Yeah.
So that's how I found that space. And so the origin story, so 5 years with my own firm, but 18 in financial services. But that in and of itself had been a second career.
Wow.
I had been in grocery for a dozen years, working my way through school to pay for it, and then developing a career. And I'm incredibly thankful because that's where all the business acumen came in, with some of the amazing mentors that I still have. I mean, some of those first people that I met in grocery were remarkable. If anyone that can run a successful business with that kind of a margin is worth learning from. So that's the origin story of how did I get here and why do I find that interesting? I've always been fascinated with business, and lots of people are, but the other aspect of it is, where does really good leadership, how does that play into the success of business? Yeah. And that's where I spend a lot of time with my clients. It's that's getting awesome. I call it's the people plus the process equals profit. Yeah. If you're, it's just, in case anybody ever told you you're never going to use algebra, here it is. If you're going to sacrifice one of those components, then it means you have to make it up on another component, mm-hmm. right? If we're not going to have great leadership, if we're not going to develop human beings, if we're not going to invest in human capital, then you're going to have to be an even better operator of the process. Yeah.
From your perspective on this journey, did you always have the confidence of, public speaking and all the aspects that came with the job position that you're in today? Or was that something that you developed yourself over time?
Yeah, I am told that I always sounded confident. So I had that. But I think I watched a retired general doing a presentation speaking, and he referred to, he said, my grandson always tells me I'm such a charismatic, confident speaker. Yeah. And he looked out at this big audience. He said, I assure you, there's a trickle of sweat running down the middle of my back right now. So it's sort of moving through that, the whole idea of harnessing what feels nervous inside so that it becomes confidence outside. Yeah. So in that sense, yes, I'm confident, and I still feel nervous whenever I'm speaking publicly or in any different situation. Sure. As anyone would be. I would say you pull YouTube, you can hear Celine Dion talk about how nervous she is before she takes the stage, or back when she performed. So it's just harnessing all of that.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, because I imagine, someone from a business background now transitioning into more of like that public, leadership and classroom setting. It's just more speaking to groups rather than the individual sometimes. And now you're doing a little bit of everything. And so it's just the development of your process and development of your education and allowing yourself to, like you said, move through those different moments and being allowed to, courage through that.
Sure. Well, and there's a shift for me, because being a formal leader with people reporting to me, where we have very clear goals of execution in that business, is a little different than coaching. Coaching is much more of I'm meeting the client where they are, right? When I bring, for instance, we refer to, you and I have outlined systems, processes that we can use to help other people. Well, I'm not telling people how to run a business. I'm showing them an outline for how they can then add the unique elements.
Mm-hmm.
The metaphor I would use is the human skeleton is 206 bones.
Mm-hmm.
All 8 billion people on the planet have the exact same skeleton, absent illness or injury.
Mm-hmm.
It's all the same. It's always the same, except that every person is unique.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm bringing. I'm bringing the skeletons so business owners can make it their own. And that's different from when I had a hand in developing a business in a corporate environment. And it's slightly different. So I use the background of having to do that with
Mm-hmm.
a corporate input to business owners who are trying to then develop their own thing.
So I was just kind of curious about going back to where you were bringing up the director's cut, and just kind of, it's on my mind right now, just from the aspect of what you do on that end of, you know, are you a big movie and books kind of reader? Do you get fulfillment and enjoyment by allowing yourself to decompress through these other pieces of entertainment?
Yeah, it's for me, the story has always been the motivator. I'm
Same.
interested in other people's story and what they brought. I like hearing what their story is. I like being an advocate for how they tell their story, because that's what businesses are. And most people who form businesses, you know, I know I'm onto something when they can tell me what is unique about their business, but not in terms of a different business. So if they said, I have a coffee shop, it's like Starbucks. Well, you're going to struggle because people will just go to Starbucks, right? They have an app for that, and that's where they go, and they know what to expect. It has to be a new take on an old thing. And it's always up there, right? That's why people form businesses. It's always in the brain, but it's helping them tell their story and then systematize the whole thing.
Yeah. And I think that's where I, you know, kind of drawing it back to ourselves here, that's where I kind of took the idea of like, it's a podcast, but it's something more than that. It's storytelling. Like you said, my upbringing was really around storytelling, and I've always found enjoyment of, well, there's this story and this story. They're similar in aspects of like the hero, the antagonist, and what the hero does to beat the antagonist, or such and forth. And for me, I've always found podcasts very interesting. And so I wanted to take it, but change it a little bit. And that was where I was like, well, there should be a hyper local aspect, I think, because I feel like everyone, like my grandfather always told me, has a story to tell and has a purpose behind who they are and what they do. So I took that and I ran with it. And it's just become this snowball effect of what we're doing today. And I feel like that's what makes us unique, is my curiosity and my enjoyment of these stories, and wanting to meet guys like yourselves who also enjoy what they do and who they are and what they've accomplished so far, because I think it brings an aspect of connection to everyone who's a follower of us and who loves podcasts, and can now connect to the owner that they're either looking for or that they relate to.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the other element that you mentioned, is part of what I'm focusing on in Leaders Cut is, yes, there's business operating, but it's connection. It's the businesses that I'm working with, the business owners that I'm working with. One common thread throughout is they're connected to their team, they're connected to their client, they're connected to their community. And that's part of the reward, right? That's part of the reward for sure.
What has been one of your favorite moments about this business for you in particular? Because, you know, you're helping so many others and helping them achieve what they want to do. I know that you brought up storytelling and learning the story, but is there some element of fulfillment for your end?
Yeah, well, as an entrepreneur myself, it's that for me, it was the moment that every entrepreneur that's been around a while has had, is it's the moment where I realize I'm viable, right? Where I'm making, you know, so specifically, it's when I changed my LLC to an LLC taxed as an S Corp and created a paycheck for myself. I knew I'd made it. And my spouse knew I'd made it,
Nice.
right? It's like, look, money's coming in. It's not going back into the business. It's sustaining us and building our future.
That's awesome.
So that's one of those from a business perspective, what I knew I had. In terms of reward systems, I call that Mr. Miyagi moment. So, I'm a kid of the 80s. So the original Karate Kid was a big deal back then.
Yeah.
And everybody kind of gets it when you say it, no matter what version you've seen, is there's the moment where Daniel's upset because he wanted to learn karate, and Mr. Miyagi starts saying, throwing punches, show me wax on the wax off. And he realizes he has been learning the entire time.
Paint the fence. And I think that's what dawned on me is like that first seeing the owner or the person that you're working with, the aha moment. Where it's just like their eyes get big and they like finally like, oh, that's what I'm missing.
That's why we're doing it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that's the best thing. For me, it's similar where they come back or they tell me a little tidbit about like, you know what? I enjoyed having this conversation. It really made me think such and such, whatever. Or the other stories are like when they come back and they're like, oh yeah, someone heard the episode and wanted to work with us. And
right.
Those are really wonderful things that come out of what we do. And having those rewardable moments are just, it feeds the soul and it feeds you as an individual, an entrepreneur to like, I'm doing something right.
Exactly. And they have the aha moment and there's a reward. Like they get it.
Yeah.
Intensely. All of a sudden they transition from reacting the day-to-day part, and they remember why they started the business in the first place and what they intended to do. And it all started to come together in their mind. And that's where some of the joy from it came, right? Yeah. And they see the monetary success. I mean, that's important too, that it is business. And over time, right, they can stand back and say, oh, okay, yeah, I'm in a really different place now than when I started working with someone, which is different than, I've talked to prospective clients that say, so we're just going to talk once a week. What is this, business therapy? Like, well, yes and no. Yes, we'll talk. No, I'm not a therapist. That's a completely different skill set.
Yeah.
And
that kind of leads me into my next question is kind of the framework of how you work with your clients. Can you give us a little synopsis of like, one, how you work with them, but two, how you keep balance and how you kind of maintain your own business? Because this is something of like, you could get lost in the sauce of, I'm helping people and working with them and you lose yourself of like, oh wait, I still have a business of my own that I have to maintain.
Yes. So I'll take that in reverse. I eat my own cooking, right? Okay. So I make sure, yes, I have coaching certifications. I have a process for coaching. I know how to do coaching, and there's the business of coaching.
Yeah.
So I do use contractors to handle certain aspects of the business.
Yeah.
Basically, I use my whole background in financial services and running businesses for Schwab and USA and Merrill Lynch. I don't have that kind of budget, but I don't have that kind of volume either. So I make sure the accounting is done by accounting software and an accountant, etc. So I make sure that the business is running a certain way so that I can be an effective coach.
Got it.
From a process, it's about uncovering what they intend. So I do work with individuals. I also work with teams.
Yeah.
All the teams came from working with a founder or owner initially, and then we expanded the engagement to really to uncover and develop better processes and systems while talking about great leadership and developing those types of skills as well. In terms of how I maintain balance, I'm an avid mountain biker and I'm an avid CrossFitter. So nice. I CrossFit Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I mountain bike Saturday, Sunday.
Okay.
And that's how I clear my head. It's how I focus on my own self-improvement.
Yeah.
And, I'm based out of Sedona, Arizona. So the mountain biking is pretty darn good.
Yeah. I was going to ask, where do you go to? Because it's definitely in Sedona, you've got a lot of trails that are just perfect and beautiful.
Yes. They never, there's, I have not mastered every trail, so I have plenty of runway to improve up there. But I use my own health and fitness to maintain my own sanity.
Yeah.
I start my day in the gym so that it sort of sets the tone for the rest of the workday. That's how I do it. And part of that is, like Brene Brown says, a lot of what makes us tick is first family stuff. Mm-hmm. My parents were not healthy people, so me and my favorite sister are very much health focused.
Yeah.
However many days we get, we want them to be healthy days where we feel good.
Yeah.
So
you're speaking her language because she loves Brene Brown. We actually have her book. I think it's somewhere red.
Atlas of the Heart.
Atlas of the Heart somewhere is in there. And I think there's another one. Don't you have another one?
Oh yeah.
I think she has a slew of them.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's a ton. Dare to Lead is Dare to Lead is chock full of great coaching nuggets and pieces that I've used, my clients use. Yeah.
That's something that I've definitely have fallen more in love with, because the way she uses Atlas of the Heart with the definitions of these words that we have to learn the emotions and what the actual meaning. So because I'm such a word person, mm-hmm. it really connected with me of like, oh, these definitions and the meaning are purposeful when we use dialogue and when we use it in our own self, talk and things like that.
Yeah. And I like that she uses herself as the guinea pig example mm-hmm. in so many things.
Yeah.
It's really not about perfection. So the one of her quotes that I use with most of my clients is, if you don't want to run around with your hair on fire, stop lighting it on fire. That is a choice.
Yes, that is a choice.
Yeah. And then a quote, I've written down who she attributed it to, but she posted it on one of her socials, and it was, it's not that you lack time, it's that you lack focus.
Yeah.
Which is almost always how clients present it. I just don't have enough time. Mm-hmm. Like, well, actually, that's finite. It is for all of us. We have exactly the same hours. Yeah.
And that's what I'm starting to realize more and more, because we have a 3-year-old son, and that kind of like, I really would have never thought. I was at a crossroads of like, can I do work that helps me, live a life that I want to live? Mm-hmm. Have something that I enjoy doing, that I find passion in, and maintain a family life as well. And I was like, I don't know if these 3 things can work together, but through, talking with my wife and having a lot of communication to myself and the process of, just learning through doing, I have felt like we're successful in that at the mm-hmm. moment. Will it continue? Yes, there will be ups and downs. I know that, but I feel positive today that we're very aware parents of our son, and mm-hmm. very aware of our community and our work as mm-hmm. well. So that's how I feel about that.
Well, and anyone who's had kids understands quadrant 1 in the Covey matrix,
yes.
the urgent and important. And actually, we talk about kids a lot when I'm working with teams. People are talking about work-life balance. Like, well, that's a bit of a fiction. First of all, it's not like this giant scale that goes back first. It's an ebb and a flow.
Yeah.
Right. When your little human needs you, they need you. They don't care if it's 8:05 or 9:05. They don't care. They need what they need, and as the parents, you get to supply it. But if you just sort of keep that mindset of, I always considered it a black mark on me if any of my team members thought they couldn't attend a soccer game and awards, whatever those big events are, because they just flash by.
Yeah.
And hey, so you're going to think about your kids in the middle of work, and you're going to think about work in the middle of a soccer game, and just let it flow.
Yeah.
Right. Just lean in, as Sheryl Sandberg says. Just lean in, go with it.
Yeah. That's how I've been feeling those words, especially when he came into my life. I was like, just lean in, no matter how awkward or how you're feeling. Just take on those fatherly moments, mm-hmm. those parental moments, and just lean into them and feel like you can achieve what he needs and things like that.
That's right. So if we tie that into sort of where does business coaching fit into all of that, there was an NPR story. I don't remember exactly when, but it was.
I have those too.
Yeah, right. I know where it came from. They were asking 90-plus-year-old men in nursing homes, hey, what do you regret in life, if anything? Like, what are you appreciative of? What do you regret? And all of them said kind of the same thing of, I wish I'd spent more time with my kids when they were little, because it just flashes by and then it's gone. Mm-hmm. So not one of them said, I wish I'd spent more time at the office. I'm so proud I made a gazillion dollars. None of those things. It was always the relationships that become important. Mm-hmm. So that sort of ties into when I'm working with entrepreneurs of if you're the choke point for all decisions in your business, if you haven't memorialized these things and built a system for it, then you're sabotaging yourself, right? Mm-hmm. You're making yourself irreplaceable. Like that's the thing you're holding on to, but that's not the magic anyway. Mm-hmm. It's what you've created. And the more people you bring into that universe and systemize it, now you can all enjoy.
Yeah.
You can all enjoy the soccer games and the awards presentations and so on and so forth, if you build it that way.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's really great that there's someone like you who actually genuinely cares to think that way, because I feel like there has been a turning point since COVID. Mm-hmm. And maybe you can attest to this, of like looking inward and wanting to really look at what am I doing that's great, mm-hmm. and how can I maintain that so that, we can leave a life of a legacy or something like that. I feel like for our generation, for the younger generation, it's looking at those moments and understanding that they do matter. When you have a 90-something grandparent that says, I wish I would have spent more time with my youngsters. Mm-hmm. And I think that we're hearing those words more and more. And as a generation, you can start to feel like there's a change afoot.
Yeah, I think COVID accelerated. I don't think it changed anything as much as it just pushed everything to, we just had to deal with it.
Yeah.
So during my years at Schwab from 16 to 18, we were creating a whole product that could be delivered digitally, as we called it, mm-hmm. right? Hey, we have branches everywhere. What if people could just be at home and work with us on a camera and use all the technology?
Yeah.
That was, everyone kind of nods like, well, yeah, that's the way everyone does it now. No one was doing it then. Mm-hmm. And I use those principles so I have clients all around the world. So we can use those, but also now what COVID did was it accelerated it to, I don't have to live in any city I don't want to live in, because the work isn't the center of the universe. Mm-hmm. The family is the center of the universe, and everything else is ancillary. And it's no surprise to me when you keep seeing surveys and studies, et cetera, that mm-hmm. say, people, capitalism business, people price in they will take less money if they can work when and where they want.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think business is starting to realize that if you're not worried about controlling the how, if you simply choose the right who, tell them what is expected and when it is due, and just let them do it, that we're seeing it come to fruition. One of my favorite books is Dan Pink's Drive, What Motivates People, mm-hmm. right? And his tagline is, business denies what science knows. People are motivated not by money. That's a satisfier. They're motivated by autonomy, mastery, and purpose.
Yeah.
So if you create that in your business where people can do it, and look, I understand certain businesses, they're physical. You can't deliver over a screen, but you can create a lot of flexibility for people. The when and the where can be much more flexible.
Nice. Well, you have given me a lot to think about and given me so much insight in your world as a coach. And I've always been kind of like an outside perspective of like, do I need a coach? Do I need a third opinion? Because I've always kind of felt like we're not at that point, but we're also reaching a point where we need to take the dive in. And I've become more and more now open to the fact of like, maybe I should get a business coach or someone who can talk to me about these elements and help me, because I have certain things that I want to streamline to help us get there faster and better, and other ideas that I want to push for in the podcast world, but I just have them as thoughts and not written down. And so maybe that today has been my kind of like, oh, this is a very ideal moment for me.
Yeah, the metaphor I would use for coaching is it's just a matter of moving from I want to be, using a sports metaphor, I want to be a great football player, or do you want to be elite and win championships? Mm-hmm. I don't teach, just like in sports, no one is teaching these elite football players how to play the game. Mm-hmm. They're observing and feeding back to them. Do you realize when you throw, if you pulled your arm back 2 more inches, you'd get 20 more yards? Yeah. And sure enough. So it's about providing objective perspective towards that goal.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Being an advocate for that person. And that's where coaching comes in. Yeah. But you asked me, how do you start? Well, it's clearly, what does success look like in your business or any business? What does it look like? Where's the gap? This is part of my financial planning background. Mm-hmm. So where would you want to be? Where's the gap? Where are you? And then we create the plan to get there, the bridge to get there.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for giving me a little bit of your time. We're going to reach towards our end conversation here. Okay. It's kind of looking towards goal setting, and you're probably super familiar in mm-hmm. this world. And just give me a little bit of what you hope to achieve, or I guess what you look forward to in the next couple of months. And then you can also kind of give us some lofty goals for the business as a whole.
Yeah. So in terms of, what are my business growth goals? I change everything to what I call ACE, an annual coaching equivalent. That's what does it look like to work with an individual. So if I'm working with a company, that counts as 4 to 6 because of the coaching hours involved. So I'm looking to add 4 to 8 would be the range that I could, that would be possible for me to onboard mm-hmm. and serve in the current year. 3 to 5 years down the road, what I'm also working on behind the scenes is a structure for other coaches. So for other people like me mm-hmm. who are I'm not semi-retired, but people that leave corporate life mm-hmm. and want to build their own practice, they can take what I've built, white label it, and make it their own, and then just be off to the races. Yeah. So I know a lot of former executives and current executives that would be very good at coaching mm-hmm. because they're very good at it now, but they also don't want to build it from scratch the way I do.
I totally understand that.
Yeah, so that's in the back of my head. That's a growth opportunity for Leaders Cut.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that we just talked about earlier, was like with our arm of like mm-hmm. wanting to serve in these sort of, aspects of like, they want to learn on their own. They want to choose your own adventure sort
yes.
of thing. And so that's it's good that, I can relate to you on this just from the aspect of like, you get it. You totally understand that leadership background and coach aspect of it, and wanting to help individuals really help others as well. So mm-hmm. I appreciate your time, Ken.
Yeah, thank you.
What you are going to do next is actually take a look at the camera and just promote yourself in the Leaders Cut, and where they can find you online. What they can do to social media and everything and anything, maybe an email or a phone number.
Sure.
Go right ahead, promote.
Yeah, the best way to find me is to go to makingthecut.biz. That is the name of my operating system. Makingthecut.biz. You'll find me, my newsletter, my contact information, a way to also engage with me, sign up for my free ebook. And you'll have multiple opportunities to either call me, text me, direct message me, or schedule some time. That's the best way.
Awesome. Thank you, Ken. And before we go, we always end every conversation with our little outro. You can hear every episode of our podcast at findingarizonapodcast.com. We make it easy for you to connect with us social media-wise. That's Finding Arizona Podcast and everything. And last but not least, we always say kisses, hugs, and belly rubs to our 4-legged friends. And we will see you next time. Thank you.